Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something almost everyone has experienced, that sinking feeling of losing something valuable.
Right. And specifically, we're looking at a company trying to build a major business around solving it.
Exactly. We're digging into the investment case for PIIT USA and their product, ReboundTAG.
Yeah, our mission here is really to understand how this company, which calls itself the world's first microchipped lost property recovery solution, how they plan to hit a $200 million valuation.
Which sounds ambitious.
It does. So we need to look closely at their strategy for tackling, just massive global property loss. It affects travelers, pet owners, commuters, pretty much everyone.
And the scale we're talking about is huge, isn't it?
Mm.
The sources give some pretty stark numbers. Like globally, 25 million pieces of luggage lost each year just from airports.
Just airports, yeah. And that's only part of the picture. Think about phones, maybe 1 in 6 gets lost or misplaced.
Wow.
And then you've got the everyday stuff, like New York taxis. They report losing at least one electronic item per taxi every single week. It's constant.
So the core problem PINIT USA sees isn't necessarily finding the item itself. It's more about connecting the finder with the owner, right? In a simple, private way.
Precisely. Finding a universal method that works when a stranger finds your stuff. Their solution needed to be super easy to use, not tied to one brand.
So these tags, luggage tags, pet tags, stickers,
Yeah.
they all have a QR code.
QR code, yeah. And the finder just scans it with their phone,
Okay.
takes them to a really simple web page. They fill out a quick form, hit send,
And the owner gets notified.
instantly. Text and email.
Okay, that sounds straightforward.
But here's the really key part, the differentiator. The owner stays completely anonymous.
Until they choose to respond.
Exactly. They initiate contact with the finder, and at the same time, the owner gets the GPS location of where the scan happened.
Ah, so you know roughly where your lost item is, but your details aren't just out there.
Right. It balances finding the item with protecting your privacy. Seems quite well thought out.
Okay, let's unpack the tech a bit more, because for this to work in places like airports or, big retail settings, it needs to be simple on the surface, but sophisticated underneath.
Yeah, what's interesting is they didn't invent some brand new, untested tech. They layered existing proven technologies.
Like the QR codes we mentioned?
Right. Plus NFC near-field communication, like contactless payments, and RFID radio frequency identification, which is used a lot in logistics and tracking already.
So it's the combination that matters.
Exactly. And this specific mix has some really important benefits, both practically and environmentally.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, the big one is batteries, or rather the lack of them.
Oh.
Because they use NFC and RFID, these tags don't need their own power source. They're passive. They only wake up when someone scans them or accesses them.
Which means they last basically forever.
Well, for years and years, certainly. Not months, like battery-powered trackers. That gets rid of the hassle and cost of replacing batteries all the time.
And I guess that ties into the environmental angle, too.
Definitely. The sources mention this go green effect. You've got longer-lasting tags. They're made from recyclable plastics, and they replace flimsy paper tags often used in travel hubs. Less waste, longer life.
Okay, so that brings up the obvious comparison. What about Apple AirTags or Tile? Aren't they competitors?
It's the natural question, right? But PINIT USA actually argues pretty strongly that they're not direct competitors.
Okay. But hold on. Apple's network is massive. Doesn't that just make AirTag the default option for millions, even if the tech is different? That's a huge hurdle, surely.
It is, and that's a critical point for you to weigh. Their defense, though, is that the purpose is different. AirTag and Tile are for active tracking.
Meaning
They constantly ping their location using Bluetooth, but only over a short range, maybe 25, 30 meters. And you need to be within Apple's or Tile's network for it to work beyond that.
Right, whereas ReboundTAG is just waiting to be found.
Exactly. It's purely a recovery tool.
Yeah.
It's passive, it's non-invasive. It doesn't track you or your bag until someone finds it and scans it.
And that distinction matters because...
Well, active tracking, like the competitors use, can raise privacy concerns.
Yeah.
There are liability issues, even potential risks for crime, unfortunately.
Yeah.
ReboundTAG avoids that.
Okay.
Plus, ReboundTAG works with any smartphone. Doesn't matter if it's Apple or Android.
Yeah.
And it's designed for things like pets, where, short-range Bluetooth isn't always ideal. AirTags aren't really meant for pets.
That makes sense. And there was something else about industry validation, IATA.
Yeah, this is quite significant. The International Air Transport Association, IATA, apparently invited them to consult on lost property recovery.
That's a big deal.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
not just a stamp of approval on their tech. It means they get insights into where the whole industry is heading.
Yeah.
Helps them stay ahead of the curve with their patents and standards.
Okay, so the tech seems solid, battery-free, privacy-focused. Let's pivot to the business side. How do they get this thing out there and justify that $200 million target? The strategy needs to be pretty bold.
It does. And their market is potentially vast. It's not just air travel, remember.
Right, you mentioned 26 million lost bags.
Yeah, but add to that maybe 10 million lost pets they could target, 15 million lost phones or tech gadgets, plus cruises, buses, schools, commuters. They're aiming broad, especially at people who don't want an active tracker.
And how ready are they to actually sell this?
The sources say they're essentially shovel-ready. They've sold on Amazon before, apparently successfully testing the waters. And right now you can find them on Walmart's website, including the business side of Walmart.
So they're building retail connections?
Looks like it. Serious ones, too. They mention an invitation to go international with Walmart, both online and in stores. And they're in Target's Accelerator program.
Which are steps you kind of need to take to get into those big stores properly, right?
Exactly. Proving the concept before a massive rollout.
But the really interesting part, the core of making that valuation jump, seems to be this sports marketing angle, combining B2B and B2C.
Yeah, this seems to be their big play. What the sources describe is securing, or being close to securing, marketing deals, they call them unsigned agreements, currently with some huge names.
Like who?
Canada National Basketball, the Ironman Triathlon Series, and Arsenal Football Club. Massive global reach.
Arsenal. Wow. Okay. So the plan is to be their official lost property partner.
That's the idea. And it's clever because it gives them instant credibility. Instead of spending, say, $100 million on traditional ads to build trust.
They borrow it from the teams people already love.
Exactly. They outsource the trust factor.
Yeah.
And that's how they believe they can justify skipping that huge marketing spend and aim for the $200 million valuation faster. Arsenal alone, apparently, has over 500 million social media followers. That's instant access.
Okay, but if that's the entire strategy for credibility, isn't that putting all their eggs in one basket? What if those deals fall through or don't get renewed later? Seems like a big risk.
That's absolutely the critical risk you have to assess. It's a potential single point of failure. They do argue, though, that it taps into something powerful psychologically.
How so?
Well, they cite stats, case studies showing that over 60% of fans are more likely to buy from brands that sponsor their favorite teams.
Ah, so it's not just visibility, it's loyalty transfer.
Right. And it lets them sell the tags, not just as a utility, but almost as, like, team merchandise. A cool branded accessory that also helps you find your stuff.
Okay, I can see that.
And there's another angle. Getting in with Arsenal or Iron Man or whoever,
Yeah.
it immediately introduces PIN ITUSA to all the other sponsors those teams have.
Like airlines, hotels.
Exactly. Big companies involved in travel and logistics, they suddenly become warm leads for potentially large B2B deals.
Yeah.
It's a network effect.
Okay, makes sense. So what's the money situation? How much did they need to make all this happen?
The ask is $75 million, spread over 5 years.
75 million. Wow. Do we know where that's going?
Yeah, the plan seems focused on execution. In the first year, for example, $9.2 million is earmarked specifically for that sports marketing push we just talked about.
Activating those partnerships.
Right. And another $3 million for manufacturing, basically to make sure they can actually produce the tags when the demand hopefully kicks in from those deals.
But they're not starting from zero, are they? Didn't they put some money in already?
They did. About $1.7 million, it seems, from personal loans, family, friends, that kind of thing.
And that paid for?
Developing the patented software, doing the research, the branding, and importantly, getting integrated into the baggage systems of over 2,800 airports worldwide. That's groundwork already done.
That integration sounds key. A real barrier to entry for others.
It is. But the financial picture right now is still tricky. They are pre-revenue.
Meaning they haven't actually sold much yet.
Right. They seem to have deliberately held back on the big marketing push until they get this funding. So no real sales track record, no audited financials yet.
Which must make investors nervous.
It seems so. The sources mention mixed reactions. Some investors wanted insurance bonds, which is unusual. And they've apparently had deals fall through because of, Global economic worries, uncertainty in the U.S. market, climate risk is definitely a factor.
The classic high risk, potentially a high reward situation?
Absolutely. They're valuing themselves at $30 million before this funding round, but they're banking entirely on this sports strategy to catapult them to that $200 million valuation afterwards.
Yeah.
It all hinges on that pipeline.
Okay. And who's the team driving this? Do they have the right experience?
It's presented as a diverse group. There's Martin, based in the UK, with like 30-plus years in sports operations, boxing, cricket, even tech ticketing for big venues. So understand scale.
Okay. Operations covered.
Then Duval in the US, focusing on the American sports market, football, basketball. That's the engine for their main strategy.
Right.
And interestingly, someone named Danelle with a psychology background, the idea is she helped design the system based on how people actually behave when they lose or find things, trying to remove bias.
That's an interesting angle. And the CEO.
Sheldon. His background is pretty relevant. He apparently had a previous venture, USB Models USA, that didn't quite make it because it lacked funding specifically. A deal with the Texas Rangers baseball team fell through.
So he's learned the hard way about needing enough capital.
Seems like it. But crucially, he also ran another company, Mercury Caribbean, profitably for about 8 years. So he's seen both sides' failure and success.
So it's a team that's been around the block aiming for a solution that avoids apps, batteries, and short-range limitations.
That's the pitch.
Okay, so let's try and summarize this for you, the listener. We've looked at PIAT USA and ReboundTAG, a potential solution to the huge universal problem of losing stuff.
Yeah, it's built on patented tech, it's battery-free, and it's already plugged into thousands of airport systems.
Their big strategy is to jumpstart growth using major sports partnerships for instant credibility. They seem ready to go, shovel-ready, as they say.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, you see it's really designed for the average person, and importantly, for the finder, too. It's meant to be affordable, likely subscription-based.
Works everywhere, not just airports, buses, schools, cruises.
Right. And critically, no need to download yet another app that takes up space on your phone. That simplicity is probably its biggest selling point.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to consider, something beyond the main pitch. Well, the immediate money comes from selling tags and subscriptions.
There's a potentially much bigger opportunity down the line, isn't there?
Exactly. Data.
Think about it. As this system scales up globally, every time someone registers a tag, every time it's scanned, every time they link it to an airline, PINIT USA collects a massive amount of data.
Data on travel patterns, where things get lost, maybe consumer insights from those sports partnerships.
Precisely. And that data, packaged up, could become incredibly valuable. They could potentially sell it to airlines, logistics companies, maybe even retailers.
A whole separate revenue stream, potentially very lucrative, that isn't just about selling the tags themselves.
Exactly. That's the potential long-term kicker. Something you definitely need to factor in when you're thinking about their ultimate valuation and success potential.